Hi guys, welcome back to Clockwork Noodles, the channel where we continue to break down the anime of summer 2021. This is the breakdown for episode 5 of the case study of Vanitas. Make sure you guys are subscribed. There is a midway breakdown going your way very shortly. What are my top 3 OPs and EDs for the season? What are my favourite 3 animes right now? So what are my top 3 animes halfway through the season? So it's been a very interesting season and I can't wait to get my thoughts out with you guys. So make sure you guys are alerted and have the bell tapped just so you get the notification there. Another way to get notified is via the Discord channel. This will allow you to have a notification sent straight to your phone whenever I release any video. So fun things up ahead. Before we get going, this is going to be a bit of a different breakdown as I'm going to try and go into a bit more symbolism this week. Probably my favourite episode so far with the way it's been presented. This is an entire flashback episode and the way it kind of flips back into the present is very, very clever. So there's a lot I want to pick up on and I'm going to take it bit by bit. It might run a little bit differently. So we are initially treated to a very nice exchange between the charlatan and Noe. This is where it all kind of begins. It's where it triggers the flashback in a sense. Before we even get into the flashback, we are treated to a very inverted flip on all the colours. Noe is initially wearing blue, and then suddenly the colours are inverted. He's suddenly in this beige and he's got these red highlights going on because those are the inverted colours. This, I think, is very, very clever. It shows you that the world that the charlatan is in, it is twisted, it's inverted, it's a mirror world in a sense. It mirrors everything and it's backwards. Everything is going on that is backwards. And we slowly see the charlatan start to engulf him as this black heaving mass. I will talk a bit more about the black heaving mass a little bit later on just because I started to work a few things out of why it was being presented the way it was. Charlatan starts to trigger our flashback by mentioning Louis. And I did think he was the friend initially because we've had a few flashbacks before and Louis was mentioned once. We did actually see him briefly. So I did figure it was one of those. We also heard in one of the flashbacks as well that one of the kids that he used to hang out with was cursed and they ended up being sentenced to death because vampires end up seeing the curse as a bit of a death sentence, so they can't bring them back. They can't seem to find a cure, so therefore the best way to do it to avoid death, because once a vampire seems to be cursed and goes into that berserk final stage, they don't recognize anything around them and they end up killing people, as we see a bit later on. But this backstory is absolutely amazingly handled and it's full of twists and turns, and I really like the way that they have portrayed the suffering, the reality of living with a curse. And I think that is the main point of today's episode, is to tell you guys this is what it's like to live with a curse. This is the severity of what it is to deal with a curse and what it ends up leading the victims to do and to want. So Louis ends up being the brother of Domi, as I did think he looked very, very similar when we ended up seeing her artwork a little bit later on. He did kind of look a bit similar. And again, they're going to keep flicking back to this teacher. And I think the reason why they are trying to keep his face out of shot, and we do kind of see it this week, we'll talk about that in a bit, but the reason why I feel like they are making a decision to keep his identity out of the picture for now is because it's creating and keeping up this idea of mystery, this idea of trying to give you a bit of an unease. If you don't see the full face, you're not getting the full picture. Why isn't the anime wanting you to have a full picture of the teacher just yet? Because he's supposed to be kept a little bit of a mystery, so we're not going to be given all of the picture for it. Then that helps create a bit of an unnerving vibe. This backstory does give us some fantastic information about Noe, the fact that his parents were killed and he ended up being found alone wandering around. His backstory is very, very bumpy, where he's raised by humans, he's kidnapped, he's travelling all over the place. But it does also show us that this is perhaps where his fondness for new things and seeing new places and all of that childlike awe what he gets when he sees places is explained, because he's had a very dark and bumpy start to life. Suddenly things going right to him is something that he cherishes. He cherishes those moments. You can kind of understand where those later traits come from. So it allows us to keep a bit of a mystery with Noe's background. So we don't really know too much about his parents. We do know that he has the ability to read blood, which he talks about a little bit later on as well. So there's lots of potential here, keeping it a little bit more mysterious for now, not giving us all of the information at once, which I really like. I don't like an anime which shows its cards too soon. It's keeping its cards to itself right now. Raises many questions about his family. Why were they killed? What happened? There's also seemingly a wound initially on his left side of his face and his eye. However, he has both his eyes later down the line. So how did he get this wound? What happened? Lots and lots of more questions. But young Noe is just a precious bean. I love him to pieces. He is adorable. I want to protect that smile. And his crying as well ends up creating the cutest trio on the planet. But you know it's all going to go crashing down at some point. Young Domi is also a 180 of her older self, so I can imagine she'd be very embarrassed thinking back to the time where she was very shy and hiding behind a tree. I do like the use of a montage. Everyone likes a good montage. And this is a growing up montage, an aging up montage, showing us the bonds between the kids starting to grow. We have some very nice lighting. It's very beautiful, seeing the world that they are now growing up in. Very detailed. Something that this anime does right is the level of detail. Seeing the hats, seeing the Noe dressed up in all of those garments looks absolutely gorgeous. He looks adorable as well. But you can really feel everybody starting to grow up, and you can feel the bonds as they start to age. Noe's skill of reading blood finally gets called to the surface, where he's able to reveal Domi's early crush on him. And again, just drawing the eye to the detailing around in this room, the hats, the gems, the wallpaper, detail absolutely everywhere. Full credit to the art team here. I can imagine the manga looks absolutely gorgeous for this one. But the room is full of amazing details that brings out this vibrant, lavish world that they live in. You do get that feel with these kind of guys that they are coming from these more upper class, important families who definitely have wealth of some sort. Louis' backstory ends up forcing Noe to cry, and it is accompanied by a harp version of the main theme. This reminds me of Pandora Hearts, because Pandora Hearts would also do a music box. It was always the music box with Pandora Hearts, and you'd always have the Lacey theme played on the music box. In this, however, we get the harp play, and it feels childlike. It feels really innocent. It also feels very sad because we see Louis sitting alone. So the piece feels longing. The entire piece plays out and it makes you long and you feel sad and you can almost feel Louis' pain coming through the music, because he essentially is dead to his own family. Because of his curse, he has been rejected, and I suspect it's because they see the curse as a ticking time bomb. It's a death sentence. And this is, again, showing us the harsh world that we are in. They have abandoned their own child. And that is where we see the teacher taking over. He is called grandfather by Louis. I don't know if this is just what he's calling him, whether he is actually a relative or not. Perhaps there is this link here. I really do still think that the voice actor for the teacher is the same guy who played Shigure from Fruits Basket. I don't have that information on now, so if you do know, please comment below, because this voice is so familiar, it is really ticking me off. I need to know who it is. But this is where we start to get into a bit more of a twisted, dark mystery from this teacher. This teacher is researching curses. One of the people who bear this vampiric curse that causes them to go berserk. But he theoretically, leaves him out, but not on purpose, but totally wanted him to see it, because I think he wanted Louis to know what was going to happen. I feel like he wanted to let him know. But we start to see this more dark shadow cast upon the teacher, especially with that very creepy smirk that he does. What does he want to do? Why is he studying the curses? What is he hoping to achieve? What has he got to do with the curses? And he says, well, you are free. I just want to observe you. So he's watching him like a test subject, like a guinea pig. Louis starts to carve out a stake, and that's when the red flags start to flash up left, right, and centre. Because the wooden stake in vampire mythology is through the chest, through the heart, and that is the one way that you will kill a vampire. And it seems like this too is also the way to kill a vampire in this world as well. It seems that he was either planning his own death, he wanted Noe to kill him, he knew it was going to end bad, he knew it was going to end awful. Maybe he got that from looking at the information that the teacher has left out. And this is where Noe even says he started to change. So everything at this point, once he knew about the curses and he read that paper, Louis starts to give up, I guess. Maybe he struggles. Maybe him starting to grow more and more warped is an effect of the curse. So it seems like in Louis' sense, he gets cursed and it takes a bit of time for him to eventually go berserk. So there is this ticking time bomb moment where you don't immediately go berserk. Seeing the run-up to this curse is perhaps what this episode is trying to draw out. This is the reality of what it's like, knowing you're eventually going to die, knowing you're going to go crazy and perhaps kill people that you like. And perhaps maybe Louis as well was scared that he might end up killing his friends. This is where we start to overlap with a previous flashback. We have the Mina being offered up to be executed for her own curse. We finally get the backstory and details of what happened on this bit. So we're starting to overlap. We had this, I think, in episode 2, where Louis seemingly starts to give up on his future. He's definitely seemingly given up. It's definitely the episode where it wants to show us the effects of being cursed, how severe it really is. So you actually respect what Vanitas does more, now knowing that this curse is awful. So him actually being a cure is absolutely amazing on its own. How those who end up living with the curse end up suffering day by day. We see the physical effects. We see the children who try to save Mina, not understanding what was going to happen. And then Mina ends up killing one of her friends. And that seems to be the moment where they go berserk. So it's a ticking time bomb. Then suddenly something triggers Mina to go berserk. And that is it. It's too late. It is a fantastic sequence as well because we see the shackle placed around Louis' neck. And I like the symbology here, so we're going to break down some of the symbology because this shackle being placed around his neck ends up sending Louis berserk. It's this bloodlust. He ends up killing more children. We see that increased speed that he ends up getting. The curse visualized as a shackle, as this black heaving mist, as I keep saying. Black heaving mist that is within them. It is consuming them. It is something that you can't clear away. It's everywhere. It seems to be within the blood itself. I really like the way that this curse is actually visualized, and that's something that these artists, these directors do very, very well, especially with Pandora Hearts, is visualization, symbology. There is a lot of it going on within the scenes. Louis is begging for death by this point, and he really wanted no way to kill him. He didn't want to go through with it. He probably just wanted to be saved. Every day is probably a pain for him at this point. He knew he was going to die either way. So the curse seems to lay dormant for a bit and then they end up going berserk where there is no turning back. So Louis knew he was going to die. And this is where we enter the huge twist of the moment with the teacher appearing to kill his test subject, his guinea pig, or what he's watching over. And it's a very, very creepy moment, the way it all kind of builds up this tension with him. Suddenly, you hear his voice first. You just hear his voice saying, I got here in time. Good thing I was kind of waiting, blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly he appears like this on the screen when we finally get a look at his face. Obviously, I think the face turns back at some point. So whether this is no way visualizing the charlatan visually, but our boy is looking very close to the charlatan right now, and this face is absolutely terrifying. Have we just uncovered the darker secret or a dark hidden fact about the teacher? Because what a shock. I really wasn't expecting something like this at this point. Something really just didn't add up about the teacher at all, and he really did have this strange vibe about him. Lots and lots of questions are now brewing on my mind. Louis knew he was going to die, and he set aside lots of wooden stakes for Noe to perhaps save other vampires like him, because Louis wanted to be saved. That is when we see Noe breaking down, saying that he could not save him. And this is where the moral of the story really is, that a cursed life is just cruel and painful. Louis just wanted to end it all. This then flashes us forward back to where we were, because this all came out of the fight against the charlatan. And what an amazing sequence this next sequence really is. I do wonder if the charlatan was preying on his memories. Did it know everything about him because of some deeper meaning, or did he really learn it because it does say, I saw you through someone else's eyes? He saw it through Louis' eyes. So when a vampire becomes cursed, does the charlatan have access to all that person's memories? Because he definitely seems to know a lot. The charlatan going into seemingly curse Noe, and the way it's done, the way it looks like death's kiss, this is the poison kiss, the kiss of death. Really loving the symbology here, the way that it happens, because the charlatan is finding a weakness. It's preying on desire, because it even says, do you want to see Louis again? He knows that Noe has regrets when it comes to Louis. He couldn't save him. He wants to see him again. So the charlatan is preying on desire, and what way of showing desire as a symbolism is via the kiss. I really, really enjoyed this week's episode. I thought there was a lot of clever symbology hidden in there. I was really moved by the presentation of the backstories, the way that it all started to line up and we start to see the warped effects of what it's like to really be cursed. This week's episode giving us the lore that really allows us to put into perspective what we have seen so far in 5 episodes. I am really enjoying Vanitas. It's slowly building as a bit of a slow burner for me. I'm really enjoying it. Really like the ED, really enjoying that ED completely. Also liking the OP, but the ED has suddenly made its way into my ear like a little earworm. So thank you guys once again for tuning in and listening to my breakdown. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys are having a fantastic week. Make sure you're staying safe. Have a good day, guys. Bye-bye.